In our study on Matthew's Gospel, we now turn to chapter 2 and verses 19 to 23. I will be reading the text from the New English Bible. Chapter 2 of Matthew and verses 19 to 23. The time came that Herod died, and an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said to him, "Rise up, take the child and his mother, and go with them to the land of Israel, for the men who threaten the child's life are dead." So he rose, took mother and child with him, and came to the land of Israel. Hearing, however, that Archelaus had succeeded his father Herod as king, he was afraid to go there. And being warned by a dream, he withdrew to the region of Galilee. There he settled in a town called Nazareth. This was to fulfill the word spoken through the prophet, "He shall be called a Nazarene." In a handful of verses, several years are covered. This is one of the places where we have to believe for this young family was a time of faith building. If you've ever moved to a foreign country or from, say, the farm to the suburbs of a large metropolitan center, or maybe you have moved across country, you understand the challenges that come with making a major move. For this family, when they went to Egypt, it would have been about finding the right synagogue, the right house, and the right places to shop. They start to settle down, and then an angel appears to them and says, "It is time to pack up, hit the road, and go back to Judea." The Herod mentioned here is Archelaus. He ruled after his father's death for basically a decade. He was removed as kind of an inept sort of ruler. He was known to be cruel. So Joseph was right not to go to Bethlehem. Joseph and his family instead returned to Nazareth. They had been gone 5 to 10 years. We don't know for sure, but it was probable that they were not forgotten. In particular, the people were probably quite able to remember that Mary had been pregnant before she was married. Mary and Joseph probably by this time had more than Jesus in tow. We have referred in an earlier reading to the size of this family, so it is quite possible that there were several kids at this point. The sense you get for Mary and Joseph and their family is that after years of commotion and chaos, their lives were about to go normal. They were about to settle down. There were no more magi and no more angels. Joseph set up shop as a carpenter, and Mary set up home. They did what most young couples do, and that is settle down and raise their family. There is a trap in the life of the church, and that is where we see being busy and doing great things as a measure by which we judge success. In the life of the church, one great program must be followed by another great program. Or maybe it is the case that a church in your city did this last year, and you as a church now must do this thing to top them. Evangelical churches can be guilty of this. Now, we are not saying we are to do nothing. Yes, there is a place for Bible camps, vacation Bible schools, mission festivals, and Christmas banquets. The problem is when we get locked into the idea that bigger and better or newer and more contemporary is always a necessity. The reality is much of what we do as churches is staid and routine, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. So, what did Mary and Joseph do now that they settled into Nazareth? They raised a family and started a family business. They put food on the table and they washed diapers. They raised up a family in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, as the King James says in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. Mary and Joseph did life, and that was not necessarily a bad thing. In the modern world, we bear as a badge of honor the idea that we are busy and living busy lives. This truth is often imparted into the life of the church and blessed as being spiritual. Mary and Joseph did have a full life as they raised their family. What they did was settle into a routine and normal life. Discipleship is never about being busy for Jesus. It is not, it is the living out of the faith in the place that God has put you. You would think after all they experienced, they would go on a speaking tour, a book publishing tour, and so on and so forth. Life for them went from extraordinary to ordinary.